Hello everyone, Mark here, Mark's Max Muscle. Why would you look at that? It is my original beginning. Isn't that sweet? I have the name, a little silhouette of me. Anyway, all jokes aside, the reason why I'm showing you this is because this was an old video that I did a long time ago. You can see posted 2018, a long time ago, April 14th. Now that's a very important date. Keep that in mind. Now I did this one, did not get too many views. I put it private because I always wanted to redo it like I'm doing now. And it did not get too many views. And one of the reasons is Nick Strength and Power posted a very similar video. He even put on the screen there, most shredded. He put the word shredded. Bodybuilders of all time. He posted that April 19th. I posted mine April 14th. What a coincidence, including that guy that he put on in the video there. What a random bodybuilder to put on a video. It's Helmet Strable, I believe. But anyway, we'll see him in a minute. Why would anybody watch my video when Nick Strength and Power posted one a couple of days later? What a huge coincidence. What a huge coincidence. Anyway, I just stumbled on that information and figured I'd let you guys know. But now, let us actually dive into this one because I honestly thought this video had potential. Of course, my announcing was pretty lackluster back then, I have to admit. But we are going to delve into the very history of bodybuilding and look at some examples of the most shredded, the most ripped, the most peeled bodybuilders of all time, the lowest body fat percentage, however you want to slice it. And of course, I did this one a long time ago, so I may have missed a few guys. This guy, however, I did not. This is Eugene Sandow, and I'm sure everybody has heard of this guy, but we don't have all day. Let us sift through these gentlemen and see who I selected. 2018, Old Mark's Max Muscle. Anybody know who this guy is? Now, for his time, this guy was peeled. So peeled. This was Jack LaLanne. No? Nobody remembers Jack LaLanne? Really? Well, that's a picture of Jack LaLanne, a little bit more modern times. He did a TV show. You know, he'd tell you how to eat properly. And anyway, let's skip through these dudes. This is Julius Pepperwood, and he does not look that ripped, but this guy competed, we're talking way back when, in the 50s, even the 60s, things of that nature. This dude here, check out how ripped this guy was. Keep in mind, for the 50s, this guy, or maybe 60s, this guy, Jean Ferriot, excellent physique. And I'm sure most of you guys know who this dude is. This is Vince Gironda. Vince, he was the trainer of champions. And this guy here was one of the champions, one of the greatest champions of all time, Reg Park. And I don't know if he was peeled, ripped, maybe back in his day. But, you know, as he evolved, he was more of a large-statured bodybuilder. Here's Don Ross. Look at Don Ross. I'm glad I put this guy in this list. Don Ross was very peeled. And he was probably the most vascular bodybuilder for his time. I would wager to say the most. Even in his older years, he was a little bit older, he was very vascular. Here's one of the best bodybuilders for his time. This is Harold Pohl, and he placed second at the Olympia 2 times, 65, 66. Harold Pohl, one of the great ones for sure. Here's another guy, got a sniff at the Olympia title, placing second, at least in 75, to Arnold, Serge Nabret. And this guy was truly one of the most peeled bodybuilders for his time, one of the most ripped, low body fat percentage for sure. I mean, look at the movie Pumping Iron. His abs, they stick out to me as being some of the best. Here's Frank Zane, another guy that was actually on Pumping Iron. But during that event, the 75 Olympia, he was too smooth. Look at him here. This was a little bit later on in his career. This is in the 80s. I think this was 83. And keep in mind, he was even more peeled, more ripped a few years prior, like 78, 79. Look at the back on the guy. Wow. They didn't flex their glutes, nor did they even show them. But trust you me, he was probably 5% body fat, whatever it would be. Here's Al Beckles. Al Beckles. I don't know. There might have been more peeled bodybuilders at the time. Here's Paul Grant, another guy. Does he deserve to be on the list? Well, I put him on. He's on the video. Paul Grant. Here's his cousin. Oh no, that was Bill Grant. This is his cousin, Paul Grant. The other guy was Bill Grant. They're Grants. They're Grants. But this guy was very peeled. Paul Grant. Paul. Sorry. I apologize, Bill. A little embarrassed about that one. Look at the abs, oh, and he had feathering in his quads. The most peeled bodybuilder for his time. Mike Menzer. Another guy, up close he was peeled, ripped, vascular, but I don't know. Might have been more peeled bodybuilders. Like this guy here, Casey Viator. You watched the 82 Olympia, I believe it was? He was unbelievable. He was the most shredded, the most peeled. Almost did the shredded voice, the Sean Roden. Shredded, peeled. And Samir Banu from behind was the most peeled, was the most shredded, the absolutely diced to the socks. Proper Louis Marco. Gotta give that copyright name, Louis Marco, when you say proper. Most peeled. And from the front, he was, he wasn't soft by any means. But I'm sure a Frank Zane might have looked a little bit more ripped. Even from behind, though, Frank Zane was absolutely stunning. But Samir's good, too. Jusip Wilkosh, for his time, might have been the hardest guy out there, for sure. Anybody recognize this guy? This is Charles Glass. He's still training the champions. And, of course, Rich Gaspari. This list would not be complete without Rich Gaspari. Peeled head to toe. Look at the feathering in the quads. And turn around, and the guy was straw-headed glutes. Can you imagine that back in the 80s? Straw-headed glutes. And look at the traps. They're suspect, but they're not suspect because there was no, none of that stuff around back then. Momo Benaziza, guy who passed on very young. But he was very peeled. One of the reasons why he went to an early grave, in my estimation, they took them diuretics to, dump that water out of their body, and they just get more ripped, more peeled than any bodybuilders than we'll ever see. Here's Sean Ray. Looks like Steve Urkel. Oh, hi, big guy. Got me cheese. Remember Steve Urkel? Did I do that? He had a whole bunch of sayings. Anyway, Sean Ray looks exactly like Steve Urkel. But here's Dorian Yates. He's the British Bulldog. And he was absolutely the most shredded guy on the stage whenever he would step up on the stage. What did he say? 4.3% body fat or 3.4 or whatever? Hard to get numbers. But I can tell you one thing. This guy here, he was on the stage beside Dorian, and he was probably just as ripped. This is Andreas Munzer. And he, much like Mobo Benaziza, died for his craft. He died for his, getting this ripped. And the guy was Mr. Ripped. And there was another dude beside him that nobody really took note of, didn't really have the size. This is Amandu Akutlu. And he was absolutely the most shredded bodybuilder, maybe in the history of bodybuilding. Take a look at the glutes. These rival anybody's today. Anybody's yesterday, Phil Heath's. It doesn't matter. This guy was as peeled as the day is long. Now this guy here, well, I threw him in the video. I figured I would keep him in. This is Mustafa Mohammed, and in the upper body, he was ripped, shredded, peeled. But I've seen more. Like a Branch Warren, for instance. And this is not a good picture of Branch Warren. Shame on you, former Marks Max Muscle. But anyway, it all leads up to this guy. This is Helmut Strabel. And I think he was a fitness model. I put him in the video anyway. And that's why when I noticed Nick Strength and Power, taking nothing away from Nick. Hey, I love the guy. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have did what I did. So that's kind of petty. I'm not complaining. Whatever. It's just funny that he would put this guy in his video too, along with, Gaspari, Frank saying, go watch his video. And, watch this video and realize the dates that they were put out, and you guys make your conclusion on it. And this guy here, Hamandu Akutlu, I named him the most shredded bodybuilder of all time, the most ripped. He may very well have the lowest body fat percentage of all time. But now I threw in some extras on this video. This video actually would not be complete without mentioning Ronnie King Coleman and his negative body fat percentage. He had negative body fat. And I'm sure none of you at home are thinking, Mark's Max Muscle's foolish for saying that. You guys all know I'm saying it because Ronnie King Coleman suggested that he had negative body fat. But anyway, he was peeled. And as far as today's bodybuilders, I guess Hattie Shupin resembles the remark of being peeled. You gotta have ripped abs to be peeled, shredded. Anyway, the video definitely would not be complete without finishing off with this guy. And, he deserves so much respect, so much credit, that it's not even funny. And to make a video entitled, or with the word peeled, shredded, ripped, or anything in it, low body fat percentage, to have it without Sean Roden would be a disgrace. So pay homage to Sean Roden. It's nice to be able to at least honor him in some of these videos. Peeled. So peeled.